Okay, I guess we're gone live there now, so we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Welcome to the Wednesday the 8th meeting of the Environmental Committee. At 6:03, we're going to call the meeting to order. So item 1.1, adoption of the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as presented.
Adopt, Brad.
Brad?
And Bob.
And Bob, excellent. So item 2, is there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Moving along to item number 3, adoptions of the minutes of the previous meeting of September the 23rd. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Dean? And?
I'll second, Brad.
Okay, perfect, Brad, thank you. There's Jen's phone. Okay, so moving along to item number 4 for discussion this evening. Item 4.1, the capital and maintenance expenditures of the lagoon, which is presented by Kevin Speck, and I don't think Kevin's here tonight, is he? So Mark, Mr. Gunno is going to speak to it.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Kevin had to go elsewhere, so he wasn't able to join the meeting. So I'll present on his behalf. I see committee members all receive within their package what the proposed long-term maintenance and repairs plan is that Kevin has brought forth. You'll see he's divided that into 3 categories. Red being immediate needs, yellow being things to look at within the next 1 to 3 years, and then gray things to look at the next 2 to 5 years. You'll notice the big ticket items have to do a lot with the proposed future funding that we're looking to address for water and for sewer services. So for this evening, what we're bringing forth for committee's approval is for capital works for 2022. There's the outstanding lift station repairs that needed to be done that weren't able to be completed in 2021, which council has deferred to 2022 for an amount of $25,000. There needs to be a new, sorry, I'm used to working off a few screens. I'm only on one. A new flow meter at the David Street station that needs to be installed, which is of an immediate need of $40,000. And the last time that we did some storm cleaning within the municipality was back in 2017, and they're proposing $15,000 to do some touch-ups within the area at this point in time. You'll notice in green at the bottom of your page, treatment for the chemical costs. Those are operational in nature before releasing the lagoons either in the spring or in the fall. There's testing that is taken into account, and based on the testing results coming back, there's treatment that needs to be added to the lagoons prior to bring it down to the preferred levels prior to release. So that's basically what we have right now. For the committee's information, we've also had a discussion with Kevin in terms of the sludge within the lagoons. Sonar was done in 2017. In 2022, Aqua is going to review those findings and come back with some recommendations and potential improvements and or works that need to be done for 2023.
Thank you. So Dean, you wanted to open with a question?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Mark, what we're looking at is for 2022 is the entire 265,000 has got to be looked at in the budget for the lagoons?
No, Councillor Dean, through you, Mr. Chair, we're just looking at 3 items, the $25,000 item, $40,000 item, and 15. So the 3 items that are listed in red within your document.
Okay. All right, I got you.
Okay. Anybody else have additional questions? I'm not seeing any other hands up here. My question, Mark, would be I see the manhole repairs at 150,000 in the far term. Obviously, it's not an instant repair need, but what was the recommendation for manhole repairs at 150? Is that like just replacing every manhole in town, or what is it?
It's doing some structural repairs to quite a few of the manholes within the community. Like I said, it was part of our initial submission for funding that we did in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, or 20, which we weren't successful. So we're just awaiting for the next funding opportunity to resubmit our full application.
Right. So in other words, the yellow stuff can absolutely wait for another year. We're not going to run into any concerns. Just get the main stuff off the plate.
Let's get what's of priority, which have been identified in red, and then we'll reevaluate the balance as we go forth year to year until we get our funding.
Okay, excellent. Any more questions from the floor?
Yeah, actually, I've got one. Just the general wording for the item number 4 in the second group, collection and storm cleaning. What exactly is that?
If I may, Mr. Chair, and basically we just go into the systems and flush out the system. So we have a system of stormwater, and we also have the system of sewer. The stormwater system collects a lot of the winter sand over the winter months into the summer. So it's always good practice over every 4 to 5 years to do a good cleaning of your system.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
That would be done with a vacuum truck, Mark, or they would.
That's correct. That's usually the process. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, you mean the low guy on the totem pole doesn't get to go down and do it manually?
No.
No, I think those days are gone, thankfully. Okay, so seeing no further questions from anybody about this item, then we shall move on in the agenda. So item 4.2 is the waste management bylaw draft revisions, and I believe Kevin will be presenting on this evening.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. We are just bringing this forward to you as we just like some input, or if anybody sees anything they would like to see in this. This is a draft. The last time this was written in 2010, and I'm not sure who wrote it, but normally when you write a bylaw, a lot of it relies heavily on the definitions. And if you, I'm sure you've all been through it, and at the end, there seems to be a set fine for every single infraction, where normally it'll just be you use your definitions to define like what it was. So you define debris or garbage or waste, and then you put what all those things are in it. So we'll just limit all these separate fines, and it'll just be like deposit of any waste, and then waste would define all of that. Also, we are looking at, as you know, the curbside recycling program. So we had to put in some stuff for that. So this is just bringing it forward to the committee to, if there's any ideas or anything that you think should be added. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. I know it's a very complex document. I went through it all. Of course, you have, I'm sure, too. And so if anybody has any input on some of the wording or what they feel, I'd be happy to hear. Go ahead, Dean.
Mr. Chair, I think it's a pretty extensive document and a lot of detail in it. And I would suggest that committee members should take some time between now and our next committee meeting and all carefully go through this, because some of it perhaps could might see some changes, and some might need some better explanation. I even notice in here that we're addressing not just curbside recycling, but we're addressing curbside waste pickup too. And that's not something we've quite gotten to yet. And so when everybody is having a look at this, keep that in mind, that that may be something in the future, but it isn't here now. But I think Kevin is addressing that so that when it does come along, it's part of the bylaw. Am I correct with that, Kevin?
Yeah, go ahead,
Um,
Kevin.
Through you, Mr. Chair, actually, Councillor Hazlitt did bring that up to me. And it's not so much for it that we're looking to go that way. It is that we do some curbside pickup with special pickups right now. So we don't have any bylaw that states what they can put out. Right now, they can put whatever they want out. So this is just curbing that, because we do have some residents that do use that, and we might have more. So this way we do have a bylaw to rely on, because we do curbside pickup in certain special instances.
Circumstances, right? Mostly in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anybody could use that service. So we're just curbing any problems. I like to make sure when we do a bylaw, we're thinking way into the future. So if we have 20 people on the special list 4 years from now, and somebody is breaking or putting out 10 bags and it's full of, they're all 100-pound bags, we have nothing to go on to stop them from doing that. So this would alleviate all that.
Well, another issue that I would mention that I had noticed in here too is that we're talking about having to put a waste box at the entrance to your property or on the curbside or wherever it's going to be, to keep waste in until it's picked up. I'm not sure whether that includes the recycling pickup that we're going to be doing now, or whether we just pick that up out of the blue boxes. But maybe you could explain a little what we're thinking about with that, Kevin.
For sure. Through you, Mr. Chair. It is the same reason that we are, like I said, we are picking curbside up right now. So if we had a special pickup and they chose to put a box because they were having issues with animals, then they could do so. And we do have a guideline for it, instead of it being an old freezer or whatever they decide to do. So it's just nice to get ahead of any of these curves before they do happen, and trying to work backwards. It's just easier that way. So that's all we're trying to do with this.
Kevin, is it intended though, as we go into the curbside recycling pickup, to have people have these containers to keep the recyclables in until the truck is there?
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, it isn't, because we are looking at getting blue bins for everybody that is on that route. So
Okay.
that's what they'll have for that. This is more just for those people that are using our curbside waste right now.
Okay.
For our special pickups. It's just if they are going to do that, it's nice to get ahead of these problems. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any input into the, go ahead, Bob?
Yes, Mr. Chair. To Kevin, these special pickups, how many do we have right now, approximately?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
5, 10?
We only have 4 right now, but that could change any day. It is a service we offer. We've had more, we've had less. It just depends on who signs up for them. I'm not sure how many people really know about it. And now that we are getting a little more strict on people leaving stuff outside the bins, we have seen people inquire, because there are elderly people that cannot lift our bins right now. So they've been asking what should they do. They don't want to get a ticket, and we have been advising them that we do offer that service because they can't open the bins. So
Okay, thank you.
no problem.
Anybody else have any further comments?
I have
Okay.
a comment, Mr.
Yep,
Chair.
go ahead.
I have another question, but just in follow-up, I'm wondering, Kevin, I forgot about that service, and actually I was just talking about that with a couple residents about how some older residents have trouble lifting up those lids. I'm just wondering, where is that information? I mean, they can call you or talk to you, but where else is that information available that we have that service? Just curious.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So you just phone the municipal office, and anyone at the front desk will help you arrange that service to be set up.
Kevin, are we advertising that on the municipal website as well, or no?
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, we don't advertise it. No.
Isn't there a fee for service with this too, though, Kevin?
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there is a small fee.
Yeah. And we were doing it originally because we have a fair number of elderly people that just getting to the bins even, or taking their waste to the bins was difficult. And so the municipality decided quite a while ago that anybody who needed help and would ask for it, that we would do this. So
I'm just wondering if like I don't know what Ed O'Seigneur what they I haven't spoken to anyone recently in the last couple of years, so I don't know what services they provide currently, but I'm just wondering if they have like a you know, a bulletin board there or a newsletter that they hand out, because I'm just curious how many people would think to ask, you know, that I would never think to ask, does this service exist? You know, if I've never seen any kind of information posted anywhere about it.
So I think Mark probably wants to chime in at this point, but I'm just going to kind of jump in for him and say that it's a very cost prohibitive service, and we're doing it in a very limited way to help the extreme cases. We really don't want to sign on 150 people at, I think it's $100 a year. We really couldn't afford to offer the service then, and we'd have to re-amend it. But it's just for the extreme handicapped people and people that are shut in. There's special circumstances, and it's reviewed on a case by case, I believe, in the office before it's accepted even. Is that correct, Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, it is. We do, whoever calls the municipal office has to like state their case, why they need. So
Sure.
And through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for the explanation. That's pretty well what I was going to say. So the only thing I'd like to caution as well is, yes, we do that special service for limited individuals. There is a tipping point in licensing issues if the number gets too big, and Kevin's aware of those parameters. So I'll leave it at that.
So I think that's, Jennifer, why they're not promoting it far and wide is because there'll be a flood of every citizen saying, oh, I want my garbage picked up for $100 a year. And then we really have to do away with it and go full curbside, which members of council aren't in favor of at this point. So any further questions or debate on this issue?
I did have a question about the document.
Yep.
In section 3H, it says no household shall deposit more than 2 bags of household waste at any transfer site per day.
Yes.
Is this new or has this been around for a little while?
Kevin?
for you, Mr. Chair, this is something new that I did put in. It's just to curb the people showing up with large trailers and filling up a whole bin. So they can deter them to go to the landfill site and dump large loads of household waste there instead of filling up a whole bin in one visit and then the whole site's just being overrun.
I imagine there would probably be an education piece with that too. If this is a new proposal that you meet somebody at the bin and they're dropping off 4 bags, you wouldn't find them right away. You would say, by the way, we accept 2. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we will advertise that we have updated like our whole bylaw, and something like that would be pointed out in the advertisement. But there will be a little education curve like everything else with waste management. You have to give a little bit of leeway with people to a certain extent, though. Like you have to cut it off at a certain point.
Yeah, absolutely. Dean, go ahead.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for Mark. How urgent is it, or how soon do you want this to come from committee to council with a recommendation one way or another on this new bylaw, Mark?
This document Kevin's been waiting to work on for quite a while. It'd be nice to get something in front of council in the new year, either January meeting and or the February meeting. If it means having an additional meeting of this committee in February to give you the opportunity to review, go through it and make your recommendations, I think that'd be appropriate. Is that a good timeline, Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think something like that would work. I just wanted to bring it that this is draft and just for everyone to bring ideas or any comments or concerns they had with the document thus far. This is a rough draft though. Right now.
And I think it's important, Mr. Chair, that we're not trying to rush this through. We're really looking for your opinions and your comments on this. So I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We need to have the public come look this over through our committee, and you know, the public is free to write in suggestions as well as anything they see on a committee or council meeting and to their counselor or the office and propose suggestions. So it is a draft. We are really, like you say, interested in moving forward because council in the session is coming to an end in 9 months or 12 months or what have you, but certainly I'm not going to rush something through that's not complete or satisfactory. So any further comments or questions on this item? No? Okay. Moving along to the next item.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to, I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but I think that it's be useful for our committee to really take a hard look at this document between now and the next meeting that we have, and we can ask Michelle to set a meeting up even in January if we want. But take a month and let people look at this in depth, because there could be lots of comments come from everyone that would help Kevin in his rough draft here. So I just would urge that.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, and just on that note, through you, Mr. Chair, if you, while you're going through the document, don't wait till the next meeting. If you have any questions or comments, please forward them to Kevin and or Michelle so we can keep track of them, and gives them an opportunity to work the document before the next meeting, and we have those discussions. So
Good.
Excellent. So if no further comments or questions on that, we'll take a opportunity to read further, and if anybody does have any questions, feel free to forward them. So we're going to move along to item 4.3, the information report that was received to council for curbside recycling. I think Kevin will also be answering to that one.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. As you know, this committee brought to council all these recommendations for curbside recycling, the pilot program. We did put an RFP, and then GFL was our only bidder on it. So they put a bid in, and all the pricing is attached. I think all the information really is on the second page. They broke it down to weekly or bi-weekly. And really, I think anybody has any questions, they'll probably be for the seasonal roads, that pretty much is Presqu'île and Legier. They're the more heavily populated areas. But other than that, like the price is for, you know, it doubles if we go on a weekly basis for all of it. So all the information's there for you.
Excellent. So council did receive this last week, or this week actually, I guess, and we took a chance to go through it. And Bob, do you have something you'd like to add?
I was just going to ask through you, Mr. Chair, Kevin, part B, the connecting roads, if he could, off of memory, which roads are they?
Actually, I have the map here. Just give me a second.
Probably Highway 64 between Alba and Noelville would be a connector.
I don't want to give any miscommunication. So the connecting roads are Monte-Guerin, it's 3.4 kilometers. Highway 64 North, that's 3.2 kilometers. May Road, 4.5, and Pelon, 3.2 kilometers.
Okay, and would, if I may, Mr. Chair, Highway 528A, Woodley Bay Road, is that considered urban area?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, that is not. That is just because the bin site was removed in that area.
Yeah.
So they're being offered the service.
But are they included in urban area or connecting roads?
If you just give me a sec, I'm going through my paperwork. It is in the urban areas. It's 11.5
Okay, thank you.
kilometers.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Dean, sorry.
I'd like to move a motion that we urge council to consider adopting this program this as a pilot program for a biweekly pickup with a total for year one of 40,800 or 940, I think it is, and of course a little bit more in year two. But let's see if council would okay it and get it underway, and we'll see how it's going to work. So I'll
Okay.
move a motion to that effect.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Michelle today pulled a bunch of stats today that I'd just like to give everybody here.
Okay.
Just clarify a little bit of problems with our contamination. And going to this curbside, we will be bringing clean recycling to the facility. Because right now, this year so far, we've hauled 255 tons to the facility. 98 tons of that was contaminated, which did not have to go there, did not have to be sorted. It did not, and then it cost us on top of that. And we had clean recycling 156 tons. So for the cost of the contamination is about $30,000, was 48% of our recycling was contaminated going there. So that's a huge number and a huge cost, which going to, if people buy into this curbside, it's all going to be going clean. So we won't be hauling any contaminants to our recycling facility. And furthermore, on the breakdown, I know with the curbside proposal cost was $46 per household we're looking at. And it looks like we're doing it for about 44. So it's not much of a difference to do once it's broken down.
Excellent. I don't have any problem, Dean, moving with your motion, but first I'd like to finish a discussion with the rest of the public members before we quite table the motion. I think that's not a big issue. Kevin, I would really like to wonder, and Michelle, if we could post those figures on the internet on our Facebook page and such to denote the cost of that contamination to the municipality, so the public gets a better feel of what we're trying to accomplish and why we have an issue. They may feel that we're sending the recycling in and we're doing our best, but they may not understand that 98 tons was garbage that was people trying to recycle. So I wonder if we could move forward with something in the education piece that way.
Through you, Mr. Chair, for sure. Me and Michelle will look at something like that and advertising to put out to the public on recycling. But we have been, but yeah, maybe those stats might help a little bit for sure.
I think those stats are very interesting. Jen, I saw you were waving your hand, so go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just curious. So with the curbside program, how would we ensure that the recycling is clean? Like the person who is picking up the recycling is sort of sorting as they're dumping?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, to answer your question, they just won't pick it up if it is in a blue box, so it's loose. So if there's stuff that's in there, they will tag it and they won't pick it up. So that's how that program kind of works. So that way you know if it's wrong, they'll just leave it there for you.
And through you, Mr. Chair, just to make sure, there's also a note left for the reasoning why it was left and what was contaminated, because you'll be able to check things off. So at least we can educate at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, so there would be if something was left, a few things were left behind, there would be, a piece of paper with something checked off saying you didn't rinse out your containers, or this is not recyclable, kind of thing.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, they'll leave some sort of form of information and they'll probably refer you to like our website or something that'll show you what is recyclable, right? Again, that way you get that education.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Chair, one more-
um,
Go ahead,
So with the curbside program, will all recyclables be put in the same bin? Or are you going to have to, residents have to sort?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe it all goes into one stream for them, and it goes to the facility, and then they sort it there.
Okay, that's good.
That's excellent. Okay, that's good, Jen?
I think so.
Okay, perfect. And somebody else was looking to chime in. Okay, go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, just a quick question. I liked your idea of putting out the stats on the waste on the Facebook page, but what about using the municipal webpage as well, with perhaps a few pictures and or videos of just what's happening? Why are we rejecting all of this? You know, the education part is important, I think. And certainly the curbside pickup is great. People are going to learn about it. But those of us that live in those settings where we don't have curbside pickup, we still want to know. We still want to learn exactly what it is we should be putting in and what is being rejected. So I think that would be helpful as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I agree. I just picked Facebook, but I meant the municipal website and Facebook page. It certainly should be in both. Go ahead, Bob. You had a question or a comment?
Yes, no, just a comment for the recyclings and the blue blocks is 5 years ago when I moved into the community of Garson and recycling, we put out the blue box, and for the first few weeks, I always had a note, no, this Tim Hortons cup, and it didn't take long to catch on and to get with the program, and I think it's going to be the same thing here. People are going to learn and get used to it and say, oh, this tin foil, it can't go in or whatnot. And it's just a comment I want to throw out there.
Certainly. Dave, did you want to jump in with anything? Everybody else is.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. If we do decide to go to everywhere every second week, I know that the intention right now is to not remove the recycling bins at the waste sites, but I think eventually, because you're always going to have a little bit of contamination, people are still going to use those bins and they're still going to be contaminated. We're going to obviously save some because a lot of the curbside will be used, but it won't be used to its full capacity until those bins are removed. And hopefully that's the direction we're heading to, is to eventually remove those bins.
Excellent. I think that at some point, you're right, we will be able to decline the number of bins, but some of the campers will always need them. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to want to put the recycle out on Sunday and leave the boxes out all week for the wind to blow them. So I think we will never get away from 100%, you know, those bins, but it would be nice. I agree. Anybody else want to jump in? I thought Jennifer was going to ask a question, so go ahead.
More just a comment, just to follow up with the education piece. You know, I know we're all busy, so I don't really know how tangible this is, but it would be awesome, especially, you know, maybe thinking about Earth Day, maybe this is something we could do for Earth Day, which is not until April, I believe, so that would give us lots of time, but it would be awesome to put, I mean, it could be a slideshow of pictures, or it could be a video if we wanted to get really fancy, but it would be really awesome to show the process. When you put your recycling in, where does it go from there? Because it's really far and removed, even for myself. And, you know, I often wonder, even if you do recycle it properly, once it goes to, is it J&B Recycling in North Bay? I forget the name of the company.
Kevin would know.
But once it goes to that company, yes, once it goes to that company in North Bay, what happens from there? I'm curious to know how much of their recycling is actually purchased and how much of it ends up in the landfill as well. And in terms of more the positive side, what happens to the recycling once it gets to J and B and it is recycled and they have buyers for it? What happens to that recycling? Who buys it? What does it get turned into? Just something to make it more tangible, because it's out of sight, out of mind, and everyone's busy, and this is an issue that's very far removed from most people. So something to bring it a little bit closer to home. And I still think, you have to get to the kids. You get to the kids, then you get to the adults.
Sure.
And Earth Day might be an opportunity to really push something like that. They liked at least my school anyway, liked the slideshow that we put out last year for Earth Day, I think it was. So maybe, and then there's an action piece to it, because I always like, you provide some kind of information, but then that there's an action piece to it. So, our recycling is not doing very well. We need your help to, and this is our goal. We'd like to, get down to 50 tons of contaminated recycling instead of 98 tons, or some kind of action piece associated with it.
Sure. I almost wonder, Michelle, if that's something the company would have to dispose to us, what their material streams go to and that sort of thing. And I wonder if that's something that they would even be willing to share, or can we find out that information?
For you, Mr. Chair, we can definitely look into getting that information.
Okay, excellent. So going back to the meat of this proposal, though, there's three things on this proposal, one being the weekly or bi-weekly, and I'd like to hear from, Brad and Jen on how they feel about weekly, bi-weekly, and also there's three or separate pickups here, as in seasonal roads, all of it. What parts do you see as a consumer you would like to see us pick up? Do you want us to stick just Noelville, Albin, and 64? Do you want to see the connector roads? And I think we were talking earlier about the 3 connectors, or do you want to see us pick it all up, and you want it weekly or bi-weekly? Before we pose the motion to staff or to council on how the committee feel we should move, I'd like to hear how the members feel about what's being proposed. Brad or Jen?
Yeah. I think the idea is great. I mean, having come from the big cities, Toronto and Sudbury, I've been recycling ever since the programs have been introduced, and I think it's wonderful. But when you live in an area like where I am, we've got 6 houses on our cul-de-sac, and we don't get this curbside pickup. It would be lovely if we did. That way, we could take care of it all. But I haven't got a problem with the bi-weekly, because typically I'm storing stuff and I'm taking stuff to recycle on average maybe once every 10 days. So to wait 2 weeks, I don't think it's a big deal, especially if people get in the habit of having 1 or 2 or 3 blue boxes and storing all of their stuff in it. It's a great trial thing right now, and you got to start somewhere. So why not do the most cost-effective way of doing it first, as opposed to jumping into the most expensive?
So you would be comfortable with bi-weekly and all parts that are mentioned? Yep. Excellent.
I would say yes.
Okay. And Jennifer, how do you feel about the way it's been proposed?
Yeah, I like the bi-weekly option as well. I was talking to someone earlier today on Monte Pilon. They didn't love the idea about recycling because there's so many bears in the area. So I don't know about how residents on connecting roads would feel about recycling. I couldn't remember if it was garbage as well too. So I know recycling is a little bit better for bears than garbage, but
well, and again,
I
would think the hope is that you rinse your containers and such so that it wouldn't attract the wildlife. You're putting out clean plastic and clean paper, bears aren't going to care. But yeah, I can see why some people are going to be resistant in the urban and the country areas of making this change. But, and again, you'd put the bin out the morning of, you wouldn't leave it out for days. Members of
Is-
council have any input on what they see as their favorite way to go? Go ahead, Bob.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I'm in favor of a bi-weekly in the 3 areas listed. That'll give us a year of living it, a year of data. We might say, hey, we have to go weekly in a year, but at least we'll have some background to gauge this on. Kevin a while ago mentioned, I think a figure around $30,000 that we might be saving with clean recycling, and this would almost cover the complete cost of it. So I think we should go bi-weekly in these areas. And I'm sure staff has a list of the roads that are covered. I'd like to see that though also. So I'm ready to second Dean's motion and get things going. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Let's go ahead and table the motion, Dave, if you're okay with that. Okay, let's table the motion for bi-weekly curbside collection for all the areas. I think we're all in favor of that, Michelle.
Okay. So be it resolved that the Environmental Advisory Committee recommends to council to adopt the curbside recycling pilot project for bi-weekly pickup, which would include all parts outlined in proposal 2021-14.
Excellent. All in favor? And that moves it. Okay. Moving on to, oh, my agenda here is crapped out. There we go. Moving on to item 4.4, roundtable discussions. Who wants to start this evening with anything they'd like to talk about? Jen, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Kevin. Jen, just 1 minute. Kevin, you had a question?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we did just miss the blue boxes.
Oh, you're
Yes.
right. I'm sorry. Blue bin recycling bins were on the bottom of 4.3. So let's go ahead with that. Sorry. Kevin?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. This is just the price breakdown of 2 of the suppliers here and the kind of options you get. You can do different colors. The sizes are pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same way you want to go with here as the 2 we have. So it's just to take a look at the prices, but we'd like to see like how many does the committee recommend for each household that we are going to be doing? Should we get it for every household in the municipality, or just we're looking for some sort of guidance on this?
Okay, go ahead, Dean.
It's a pilot project, so let's get the boxes this time for the number of people that we've got scheduled on what we're just recommending to council. Probably two boxes per household would be sufficient, but I'd be glad to hear other people's opinion on that. I know in our own case, we take a bag of recycling to the bins every couple of weeks, and 2 boxes would have held that bag that we take out there. So, but that's just 2 of us here at the house, so I'm not sure whether that's appropriate or not. But let's try it. I suggest we try it with 2 boxes per household, but just for the people, just for the number that we're planning on doing here with a few spares.
Go ahead, Bob. Yes, Bob.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to get the idea of the other people. Are we not planning on selling these blue boxes, charging for them? Or were people thinking that we'd be giving 1 per household?
That would have to
I'm
be
more or less thinking that they should be sold.
Kevin. What is the plan for that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe that it would be like handed out for free from the municipality to everybody, at least on the route that we are looking at. That way they do use the service.
And then if we have additional boxes that somebody requests, say they've taken the 2, if we decide to, and then they want 2 more, we would then probably sell them at that point to them at cost.
Sure.
Through
You
you,
wouldn't
Mr.
give
Chair,
somebody
that,
4 free bins because they could be using them for storing leaves in the backyard or something.
yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I believe that would be up to council how they would like to do that for extras or for that's the level of service that council would decide that we would handle.
Okay. Or Dave, go ahead, please.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I would say give 2 to everybody that's on the route, and any additional I think should be paid for. If they break it, they need it replaced, or if they want extra, I think it should be replaced. It should be paid for the replacements, but yeah, we can definitely look at giving the first to start it off, and then after that, they should be at least at cost anyway, just to recover cost.
And make
Yeah,
sure everybody knows it.
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
That's what happened in Sudbury. We got, when the program first started, everybody got a blue box. You wanted more, you paid for it. And, you know, it's not an unreasonable amount of money. So typically we had 3 boxes going. So.
Yeah. And I guess we have to also consider when people move, they tend to take them with them. I know I've got some boxes from Barry. Shh. And so we'd have to have some kind of policy to distribute to new homeowners as well after we've started. So. Okay, I think that covers the blue boxes, Kevin. So that should bring us to item 4.4 roundtable. Anybody have an item for the roundtable discussion this evening? Okay, Brad, go ahead, please.
Yeah. How is the new camera program working out now with all of the transfer stations?
Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I did actually set up 2 more cameras at Shaw Road. So we put those up there. That did deter people for sure. It's helping. And then the ones at the Public Works Yard, they're working good. There hasn't been much to look at because everybody, I think we've had 3 people and the whole time place waste outside at the gate. And they were sent letters. They were not ratepayers. They were just people driving by kind of deal. So,
Okay.
but they did receive a violation letter. And other than that, we haven't received, like Wolseley Bay and that site, there hasn't been much misuse. Like Wolseley Bay Road, we haven't had any garbage drop there. And for Public Works Yard, it's been going well. So.
Okay. Dean, were you gonna jump in there?
I guess perhaps Kevin could enunciate a little bit on the fact that we've been handing out some tickets and some fines, and that there are people learning a little bit more the hard way about what we expect from them around those transfer sites. So.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, Bylaw has been handing out several tickets. It's slowed down now just because of the time of year, but summertime we were handing out quite a few. So we're going to continue to do so because it's still happening. So it's not going to stop. So.
Excellent. Anybody else have anything else they would like to discuss this evening in the roundtable discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I don't want to bore anybody, but I wanted to emphasize the fact that this pickup of recyclables is a pilot project. We're anxious to see how the public reacts and what the difference is going to be in the kind of recycling that we send away. There's a variety of reasons, but I think it's also important for us all to remember that we're following a little bit of the recommendations that came from that extensive study that was done on our waste disposal system. And we're being pretty cautious because we're doing this as a pilot, and whatever else we do, and we've done quite a bit. I mean, the very fact that most of the people in Noelville that were using those bin sites are not going to the landfill instead of using those bin sites shows you that with as we move slowly, that people will adapt and will adopt, and we'll get to where we would like to be. This is just the beginning. It'll be fascinating to all of us to see how the recycling pickup at the driveways is going to work, and how people participate as they should with it, or will they do it as they should. But in any event, this is all a beginning, because there's more to come if we see some results from some of this. And I think that it should be emphasized at the committee level here that our waste management system has been nothing short of almost disastrous. Both recycling is just part of it, but the rest of it has been tough too. We're handing out tickets, as Kevin said. We got another bylaw enforcement officer to be able to police these sites a little more. But there was some discussion even in the past, and it'll probably come again, about fencing those sites and manning those sites. Or if we find that picking up recycling in front of the yards, in front of people's houses, works well, we may be able to start to look at expanding that into waste also. So I just want everybody to keep in mind that from council's perspective and from our committee's perspective, we're just trying things out here. And I'm hoping, as we all do, that it shows promise, that it works, and that as we look at next year, that we may be able to look at things we might do to start expanding new measures and how we do this. And so I'll leave it at that. I don't want people to be more bored than necessary, but it is a pilot program, and the results will be important to see. So thank you.
Excellent. I'm just going to jump in and put in my little bit here today too, and say that recently today I was on Dry Pine Bay Road speaking to some constituents as I've been door knocking, and had a lengthy discussion about our waste system and how they were frustrated with the old way, and happy to see that we've made some changes and that things are improving because of the actions of this committee. And the municipality is taking a forward approach to actually addressing issues rather than just sitting on them and not doing anything. I think I'd be remiss, and the mayor is probably biting her teeth somewhere in the municipality this evening, to say that if I don't mention that the council put forward a motion that there would be no action on waste removal by curbside for this council's duration. So it isn't being discussed and won't be discussed further till the new council comes in. I know the mayor was very adamant that that had been put out in the public domain. So, I mean, we have talked about it this evening, but it's not coming during this term. Although I am for it, I think there are opportunities in some of the villages to do curbside waste removal as well. But it is important to reiterate the mayor's position on that, so that people don't get the wrong idea. Other than that, I just want to say that this will be my last environmental committee meeting. I've really appreciated sitting on this committee and working with the members here. My campaign is taking up way too much of my time, and I just cannot fully participate in a way that is meaningful here. So the committee will need to pick a new chair from the council members that are left behind. So I know the mayor will be working on that in the few weeks ahead, and I wish you all good luck, and I'll be watching everything that everybody's doing. So it's been really great to work with you all. Does anybody else have any comments before we adjourn? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and move for an adjournment. It is 6:57. Oh, Dean, go ahead. Dean moved, and seconder. Oh, Brad. Okay, thanks everybody. It was really great to see us all, and I hope to run into you sometime soon.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays if we don't see you.
Absolutely. Happy holidays, everybody. Thanks very much, Randy. Best of luck
Thank
to you.
you. Thanks.
And happy holidays to everyone.
Good night.
Yes,
Happy
likewise.
holidays.
Good night.
Night.
Well, I'm